You're watching This Week in Louisiana Politics with Fred Childers.
Good morning, I'm Fred Childers. Thanks for joining us for This Week in Louisiana Politics on your local election headquarters. We hope you're having a great weekend. We have lots to talk about, so let's get started. After months of back and forth at the State Bond Commission, they have finally approved the line of credit for the New Orleans Water and Sewage Board flood protection projects. This money, some said, was getting caught up in politics. The money has been held up for over 2 months over a resolution by the City Council that stated they would not make the abortion law a priority to prosecute. Now, the Attorney General's office, spearheading the withholding of the money, could not provide evidence the city was breaking the law. Other members of the commission grew frustrated and pushed to move past the issue since other projects in other cities were starting to be held up. Louisiana lawmakers are once again taking a look at doing away with the state income tax. But before legislation can be brought to the table, they're researching how the funds can be made up elsewhere. Capitol reporter Shannon Hecht brings us the details.
This is not the first time that lawmakers have looked at doing away with the state income tax, but Representative Richard Nelson is hopeful that taking a close look at the state's tax structure can help them find new ways to make that revenue. The state individual income tax brings in over $4 billion of the state's $39 billion operating budget. Louisiana also has one of the highest sales tax and one of the lowest property tax rates. Representative Nelson wants to find ways to make up for lost revenue if the income tax is removed.
Texas, our neighbor to the west, grew 6 times faster than we did. Florida is about the same. What do they have in common? They have no income tax. It's one of the major things that attracts people from across the country.
But economists are wary of such a big change right now. They say it's too soon to know the effects of some tax reform passed in 2021, and all signs point to the economic boost that has given the state multiple surpluses and excess money will soon dry up.
The temptation is to just bring that to the bottom line of the general fund and say that's where we're going to be. But when you budget, you step back and you're looking at the entire general fund. So it matters. It matters what's happening and everything else because it's never static.
The study group will look at what various tax credits and exemptions are costing the state, as well as what taxes can be afforded to change before official legislation is drafted. The chairman says he anticipates having meetings every other week leading up to the fiscal legislative session next April so they can unpack this entire issue. At the Capitol for your local election headquarters, I'm Shannon Hecht.
All right, we'll be following those meetings as well. As football season ramps up, sports betting is getting its first real test in the state, and the Gaming Control Board expects Louisiana to hit their goal for revenue. So far, since mobile sports betting launched, more than $16 million in tax revenue have been collected. There are hopes the revenue will surpass $30 million by the end of the year.
We've never gone through a full football season yet with sports betting. It just started 2 weeks ago with college, and then this past weekend with the NFL. And historically, all over the country, football season is the big deal with sports betting.
The gaming industry is projected to bring in more than $1 billion to the state budget this year. A family who lost their 3-year-old to gun violence says they have found purpose in that horrible tragedy. The East Baton Rouge Metro Council passed an ordinance the family says could save lives. Anam Siddiqui gives us the details.
In April, Ty Tolliver lost her 3-year-old Devin Page Jr. after he was shot by a stray bullet while sleeping in bed. She then promised herself her baby boy's name will not be left in vain. Now, that promise has been fulfilled.
I'm very grateful overall.
Before his death, Ty says she asked her landlord repeatedly for more safety measures.
I called management again and told them I need to break the lease because someone is going to end up being killed.
Devins Law now encourages landlords to put in security cameras. The law requires proper safety lighting on rental properties. Councilman Cleve Dunn Jr., who created the ordinance, says state law tied his hands and prevented that cameras be required, as well as prevented Devins Law from allowing tenants to break a lease based on criminal activity. Despite this, the family says they are happy.
Of course I didn't like it, but we will take what they have given us simply because, like I said, when you say Devins Law, everybody's going to know you're talking about Devin Page Jr.
But we didn't want to do nothing. We wanted to bring forth something as a start.
After emotional testimony from family and residents, the council recognized Devin's precious life.
Thank you.
As for Devin's family, this is just the first step in seeking justice.
It was too late for me, but it won't be late for somebody else.
That was Anam Siddiqui reporting. A multi-million-dollar plan for electric vehicle infrastructure in Louisiana was approved by federal agencies this week. Over 5 years, Louisiana will get more than $73 million to build 394 charging stations. Louisiana is one of 35 states with plans approved. The announcement unlocked $26.5 million in funding for fiscal year 2022 and fiscal year 2023 in Louisiana. Transportation officials said, and Louisiana's electric vehicle plan states it will meet the Federal Highway Administration's requirements of having charging stations 50 miles apart and within 1 mile of interstate exits or highway intersections along the corridor. The Louisiana Office of Tourism has relaunched the African-American Heritage Trail starting at Whitney Plantation. Whitney Plantation is just one of more than 40 locations where someone can learn African-American history across Louisiana on this trail. Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungesser says it is important that all of Louisiana's history is told.
All of it plays a vital role in the history here in Louisiana, but also to recognize those heroes and those painful stories that have never been told.
He hopes that all schools will start adding this to their curriculum. The goal is to make sure all visitors leave with knowledge and pride. CVS pharmacists are sick of getting robbed, so now they have a new tool to fight the bad guys. This week, all 133 CVS locations in Louisiana are now equipped with time delay safe technology, making potential robbers who want to make a quick exit think twice. Attorney General Jeff Landry and police around the state say they are making a commitment to curbing retail theft of opioid medications.
Time delay safes have successfully demonstrated that they help deter pharmacy robberies by electronically delaying the time it takes for pharmacy employees to be able to open the safe.
And the underlying factor that's driving violent crime is drugs.
If you're looking for a sneak peek of the safes, like we were, CVS says they will not be shown to help with security. Understandable. Summer is ending, and Governor John Bel Edwards wants everyone to get vaccinated against COVID and the flu before temperatures drop. The governor stopped at Our Lady of the Lake, rolled up his sleeves, and got boosted. He also let us get that on video. State health leaders say the new COVID-19 booster provides protection against variants that are now circulating, and the flu shot offers added protection against respiratory illness.
Omicron BA4, BA5 specific boosters are available, and so is the flu shot. And it is safe and appropriate to have both at the same time. It is no longer about being fully vaccinated. It's all about being up to date.
The Pfizer vaccine is available for anyone 12 and older, and as for the Moderna vaccine, it is available for anyone 18 and older. For the flu shot, LDH says anyone 6 months of age and older should get their shot by the end of October. Well, before you know it, it'll be time to cast your ballot in the upcoming midterm election. So we wanted to remind you of some important deadlines depending on how you plan to vote. If you're not registered and you want to vote in person or by mail, you must register by October 11th. If you want to vote online, you must register by October 18th. Early voting starts October 25th and runs through November 1st. Election Day is November 8th. We'll have an update on the effort to recall New Orleans Mayor LaToya Cantrell. You'll hear from the organizers of the recall and the mayor next.
This is your local election headquarters.
New Orleans Mayor LaToya Cantrell is facing an effort to recall her from office over a number of reasons, but she maintains she is committed to helping the city. LBJ sat down with the mayor to hear how she is handling the top issues.
And things that we know that we can do.
Fresh off of last week's announcements of over $80 million in incentives to keep and recruit police officers, some critics have questioned whether the city could continue the incentives once the American Rescue Plan money runs out.
It's all about being fiscally sound in our practices and being very conservative in how we plan for the future.
Cantrell also stated that the presence of the new consultants to the police department have already identified immediate structural changes to get more officers on the street. Our conversation then turned to the mayor's travel.
Last week you addressed the issue of paying back to the city any upgrades on travel.
There will be no reimbursements to the city of New Orleans. The focus on my health and well-being is one that is a priority for me, and one that is a priority because I have to do the work on behalf of the citizens of this city. But not only that, when it relates even to my travel budget, I have never once overspent. I have actually underspent.
Mayor, obviously there are some folks that are unhappy and have undertaken an effort to recall you as mayor. We haven't heard you address it in any way, and we want to give you the opportunity to speak to the effort itself.
I've chosen to do the hard things. That doesn't mean that it doesn't come without the ability to please everyone. I cannot do that. I strive to, but I know that I can't. But I choose to do the hard things, and it comes with some level of scrutiny. So what I will say again, never a dull moment. I continue to make history around here.
Mayor Cantrell, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
For Moving New Orleans Forward, I'm LBJ, WGNO News.
Also in New Orleans, the City Council is allocating $35 million towards a buyout of residents of Gordon Plaza. It seems that now the checks would start to be written, but it turns out there's more waiting for the residents and officials, pointing to politics on both sides.
Can I go? Give me some city checks. Can I go write some city? No, I want to know.
No, you can't.
Well, I want to know. Can I?
No, you cannot.
Why?
The tension in last week's council meeting is about finally getting a resolution to compensating and moving the residents of Gordon Plaza after 40 years of fighting, now that the city council has designated the money to do so. We asked the mayor what was holding up the settlement.
$35 million divided by 67 homeowners, $500,000 each, right? About a ballpark. What's holding up that process?
That process is held up simply because it is an illegal process. We have to, one, have a fair market assessment of the property and therefore offer a buyout to the resident.
The figures cited by the council and residents are part of a Tulane study that the administration says is illegal. One of the issues seems to be what the city can pay above the property's value for relocation. Councilman at large J.P. Morrell disagrees and says that this is another stall tactic.
4 of the 7 council members are lawyers. Nothing in this process is illegal. What is evident at this point is that every instance in which we come close to making this generational wrong right, the mayor creates another obstacle. She simply does not want to give these people this money.
The residents that live in Gordon Plaza say they've waited long enough, and now that the money is set aside, there should be no holdup.
Why you can't take our formula and give us our check next week?
As crime rates rise across the nation, some Louisiana lawmakers are calling for big changes down in New Orleans. Meanwhile, Baton Rouge leaders say violent crime is declining thanks to summer programs. Both stories next.
This is your local election headquarters.
Welcome back. Senate Republicans are introducing a bill to combat the nation's crime spike, while Democrats try to push their own plan through Congress before Election Day. Washington correspondent Jesse Tenor reports on the debate.
They are putting innocent Americans at risk.
Republicans, including Tennessee Senator Marsha Blackburn, are blaming Democrats for record high levels of violent crime in every major city.
This defund the police, disrespect the police, be compassionate to criminals has not served this nation well.
Blackburn and fellow Tennessee Senator Bill Hagerty are working on legislation to hire more state and local police focused on violent crime.
The American public has had enough.
And Louisiana Senator John Kennedy says it falls on Congress to work to delay police retirements and improve morale.
We have some elected officials who think cops are now a bigger problem than criminals.
But in this midterm election year, Democrats are trying to forge ahead with their own policing and public safety package.
There are ongoing conversations in terms of how do we continue to strengthen the relationship between the police and the community.
New York Congressman Hakeem Jeffries says Democrats are also working to boost police funding, but many want more oversight and accountability to go along with that, which could push consideration of their plan past Election Day.
We'll see.
Instead of waiting on the legislative process, these Republicans are also urging President Biden to act now, pointing specifically to a Trump-era program that sent federal officers to serve in violent crime hotspots across the country. In Washington, I'm Jesse Tenor.
Well, there has been some successful efforts to curb crime in Baton Rouge. After 12 weeks, we are now seeing just how effective the mayor's Summer of Hope program really is in the capital city. The recently released data shows several improvements in categories of crime compared to last year. Homicides decreased by 25%, with people dying by shootings decreasing by 15%. The mayor's youth workforce worked with kids as young as 12 over the summer, doing over 149,000 hours of volunteer work.
We know that every summer we see a spike in violence, so we decided to activate like never before. What we found was that when we have 5 or more events in a given week in these specific neighborhoods, the average level of violent incidents drops below average.
Leaders say this program may be over, but they will continue more initiatives designed like this. Well, for the first time since she was snatched from her bed in West Africa and held in captivity, we are seeing and hearing from Sister Sue Ellen Tennyson. Take a listen.
I'm feeling wonderful, but the feeling that overwhelms me is the feeling of gratitude.
Sister Sue Ellen Tennyson thanking the public for continual prayers during what could only be described as a nightmare. From early April to late August, she was held captive in West Africa after being kidnapped in Burkina Faso and held for ransom. The night it happened, she tells the Clarion Herald she was abducted from her bed, blindfolded, and gagged without her shoes, glasses, or medicine. She says her captors placed her on the back of a motorcycle and rode through the night until she was handed over to another group that Sister Sue Ellen says treated her reasonably well. She claims she was fed spaghetti, rice, and sardines, and given a few pieces of paper and a pen, which she used to mark her days in captivity. Sister Sue Ellen says she slept outside in a tent-like structure with branches and leaves for the roof, but that ended when her captors found a sofa for her to sleep on. At some point, the climate took its toll on Sister Sue Ellen as she became sick with malaria. In August, without warning, she was moved once again, but this time for the better. At the end of the journey, she claims to have been greeted by 3 men who told her she was free. She was in the neighboring country of Niger and released into the custody of the FBI, the U.S. Embassy, and Air Force.
Then since I'm back, all the medical people who have been helping me to come back to good health, my heart is filled with gratitude. I don't know how to thank everybody.
Happy to be home and humbled by the amount of support she's received.
I always knew my community and my family and friends were praying, but now I'm finding out there were thousands of people praying for me around the world. I cannot even comprehend or find a way to express the gratitude that's in my heart for all the people who have been praying for me.
Amy Russo, WGNO News.
What a great ending to that story. Up next, we'll have a look at the week ahead on your local election headquarters. Stay with us.
This is your local election headquarters.
Looking ahead to the coming week, tomorrow, Louisiana Center for Children's Rights will speak at the Baton Rouge Press Club. On Wednesday, CPRA will be meeting at the Capitol, and on Friday, the Medical Marijuana Commission meets as well. Thank you for joining us for This Week in Louisiana Politics. I'm Fred Childers. Stay informed. I'll see you next Sunday, right here on your local election headquarters.